There are many really unexplained stories that have occurred in cornfields. Those large and long cornfields are the scene of mysterious events that could frighten anyone. Many people have stories of what they have witnessed in those places. There is not just one, but hundreds of similar stories. However, the stories that will be told here are just a few. But that doesn't stop them from being terrifying in every sense of the word. The following events are real testimonies, situations that happened in different places of the world. Number 3. Jennifer Lozano lived with her mother and stepfather in a house on an Indiana hill. The landscape was reduced to countless cornfields and forests. This place was in the middle of nowhere, but until then, nothing had frightened them. Since everything that happens in these places can't be perfect, one day she found something inexplicable. She just wanted to go out and see the cornfields, so she went for the little walk alone and got into one of the cornfields. She would never have imagined that she was going to encounter something so scary on her walk. So when she saw a black shadow in the woods, she didn't take it so seriously. She thought her eyesight had failed her. But as she walked on, she again witnessed the movement of a black shadow. Now the figure was closer to her, so it did not hide. It stared at her. Jennifer was surprised at how inexplicable this thing was. It was tall. She estimated that it was about 5 feet high. The thing stared at her with a head that practically hung from its neck, until she reacted and began to run. Of course, the monster ran after her, even faster, because it used its arms like a gorilla, and it kept screaming a completely unexplainable sound. When she got home, she hid with her mother, while the thing was still outside trying to knock down the wall. Eventually, it gave up. That's when his stepfather arrived. She told him what had happened, so he went out with several neighbors to hunt for this terrible being, but it was all in vain. Her stepfather would later tell her that he believed the story because he had seen it before. Number 2. The kind of creature that Jennifer, her parents, and some neighbors found doesn't just live in Indiana. Reports of sightings of such a monster come from various parts of the United States. In this case, the witnesses are from Illinois. A husband and wife were driving on an Illinois highway. It was a very lonely country road, surrounded on both sides by cornfields. The energy of the place, as they themselves describe it, was totally hypnotizing. It was a very clear summer night. The road was long, lonely, and the landscape passed quickly before their eyes. The feeling of calm that this trip had was very relaxing, until something took them out of the trance they were in. Since they were the only ones on the road, any other person who passed would be very noticeable. So they were so frightened when, out of nowhere, a figure ran in front of them on the road. With the little they could see, the wife describes it as a small skeleton. Small because it was about the size of a child, like a skeleton because it was totally white. Even its limbs looked like pure bone. This really caused a mental breakdown in the woman. Luckily, she got a good look at this creature. Her husband, on the other hand, could not describe it well, since he managed to see it when it was already leaving the road. Whatever that creature was, neither of them could explain what it was. Number 1. Another place that has stories like this is Ohio, specifically in Knox County, really close to the historic Mount Vernon plantation. In this story, the protagonist is a biker. The sighting happened specifically on July 31st, 2018. These are the data presented by the Mutual UFO Network team, which was chaired by Ron McClone, who was in charge of this case. The point is that this biker was driving on a road that was completely surrounded by cornfields. Anyone would have felt the loneliness that is evident in these types of places. But that feeling of being alone didn't worry him. It could even be said that it made him feel safer. That was until, in a moment, a figure crossed the path he was on. This creature moved with incredible speed from one side to the other. It came out of a cornfield, crossed the road, and got into the cornfield on the other side of the road. However, Speed was not a factor that prevented the biker from describing it. According to his story, it was a really tall creature. He calculated that its height could reach 6 feet. Along with this height, it had a really thin body, but its extremities had a very small diameter. Besides that, the feet and hands were in complete disproportion. The biker describes it as a being without any hair and with a brown skin. In the same way, the creature had such a small neck that it was unknown how it held its oval head. Ron McClone oversaw research in the area, but never found any evidence. Zero Zone. This last story can be even more sinister than the previous ones. Again, the location is the state of Illinois. This has become one of the states in which most strange events have occurred. It happened in 2009, and the witness is a student at the University of Illinois. It all started when she took riding lessons. Because of this, she was forced to drive every night through thousands of cornfields. It had become usual for her to see colorful lights in the sky on those trips. Sometimes these lights even went down to the road. As strange as these situations might be, she did not take it too seriously. Until one night, the rarity increased to an inexplicable level. This time, it wasn't lights that she had seen, but a huge black rectangle, darker than the night. She defines it as a kind of portal that was approaching her. Behind her, there was a car, so she turned around and stood in the other lane to flee. To her surprise, the other car went on its way quietly. When she turned around, she noticed that the portal was gone. But that's not the end of the story. Another night, she was happy and singing on the road. Out of nowhere, the hair on her neck rose, and she felt a claw wanting to touch her leg. She screamed, and with that scream, that sensation vanished. However, after a while, she felt again the same claw wanting to reach her, this time faster, as if wanting to avoid the scream, but she screamed in time and got out of the car. Our world, the planet in which we live, is full of dark events. Unexplainable events that no witness can comprehend completely, not even the experts who have studied them. Do cornfields attract any kind of energy? Any strange animals? Any beings from another planet? We don't know, and probably never will. The truth is that something must happen in the middle of those cornfields. They are places inhabited by creatures that, to humans, are strange, dark, and inexplicable.